Hello. Okay, so I have not done a video in a really long time, and I don't really have an excuse other than time just gets away from you and you just all of a sudden realize it's been months. So today I'm going to be working on this cutting board. So this glass cutting board was one of those Bernie Brown ones. They were really popular in like for Western decor, cowboy kind of decor. And it was a Bernie Brown drawing of horses. So, but that over the years got kind of mangled and it was all falling off. And I'm going to try basically the same idea just with decoupage paper. So this is part of the Upcycling decoupage paper. I think it's called Sheep. This is an old one. You can still get it, but this design came out a while back. At least I think you can still get it. I'll correct that later if you can't, but I know I still have some in stock. So regardless, it's still available through my website. So I'm gonna put these guys on it because, well, they're cute. And I haven't found, in all this time of having access to this paper, I haven't found a project that I just wanted to put it on. So here we go. So these two sheepies as we call them around here, because we have sheep. And it kind of was my granddaughter's method of referring to them as sheepies. So I'm just gonna take some, I've cleaned this really well, but I want to take some alcohol and make sure it's really clean, just in case. So I'm just gonna take a paper towel and some rubbing alcohol. This is just, I get this at Dollarama. Super cheap, obviously, and it works. But it's really good for getting rid of any oils or anything that might still be on here, plus from me handling it, just the oils from your fingers and stuff. And I was going to use my go-to, my clear patina from DIY Paint to decoupage on here, but then I remembered that I think I'm gonna go with the clear glue. If this doesn't work, if it's a total fail, I can just scrape it off and do it again. So I'm not super concerned. But this worked really, really well when I decoupaged on the back of the new IOD Les Cloches molds. When I did them with the clear resin, and they're shiny, like on the flat side, when you pour resin, that flat side becomes really, really shiny. So I had a little bit of trouble getting decoupage to stick to it with traditional products. I guess I could have probably scuffed it up a little bit and that wouldn't have shown, but I don't really want to scuff this up unless I have to, so I'm going to try it this way first. So I'm going to use an old kind of brush. Actually, I'm going to use a silicone, one of these silicone brushes. So this is just a silicone kind of like a blade. So it's flexible, but it's gonna give me the opportunity to get really even coverage using something like glue. So let's give this a go. And I'm also doing a reverse decoupage because this is textured on the cutting side. So this would be the side your knife goes on. So I'm going to lay the paper down face down so that it shows through the glass nicely. So first things first, let's get this glue going. I hope this works. Even if it works for a little while, you can always change them out if you're partial to these glass cutting boards. I was never really a fan of these. I don't like the way they sound. I don't know, that matters to me. Texture and sound. kind of a big deal. So I'm just spreading this on here first, and then I'm going to make sure I'm really getting it all the way to the edges. And you have to really look from all angles to make sure you're getting it all the way to the edge. And I should have laid this out first. I'm definitely out of practice, so you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit because I totally screwed that up. Okay. So I want to dampen this paper a little bit first, just because it makes it lay down nicer right off the bat. Now using the glue is a little bit more, it's like a higher viscosity obviously, so it's a little bit tougher. There we go. I'm just gonna mist the rest of this. There. Okay. My next layer. Ooh. Just gonna spread it first. Gently press it down. Perfect. And this glue also, you can get that at Dollarama as well. For sure cheaper. You can pretty much get it anywhere, Walmart, that kind of thing, but Dollarama, it comes in 2 sizes and it's cheaper than Walmart, or at least it has been in the past. Making sure I get those edges. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this brush. I'm just trying to get it a nice even coat. Just giving it a little mist. So that it all dries kind of evenly and I don't get a lot of shrink back. Now I just want to take a peek at what this looks like on the front. That looks pretty good. I know it's upside down, but I still have to do this back. I'm going to grab a chunk of saran wrap. Just so I can smooth that out a little bit better. without tearing the paper. And this, when you're using the glue kind of soaks through the paper. So be very careful that you're not rubbing too hard, because see, there's a big air bubble there. I gotta push that out slowly. And I think it's because I put the product a little bit heavier on this side, and that's what's giving me that issue. I think I got it. Just being very, very careful. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on the paper because I don't want it to tear. Okay, I'm not gonna keep that food wrap for later because it's got glue on it. Okay, I'm going to use glue as my sealer. You know, like you would normally when you decoupage, you're sandwiching your paper between 2 layers of decoupage medium. In this case, my decoupage medium is glue. So I'm doing the same thing. This method does take longer to dry. I remember that from doing the cloches, but it worked really, really well on that. I had no separation at all of the paper from the shiny set. I can't think of the word. Resin, clear resin. Once this is set, you can always then go over it with a clear coat of your choice. And even though I'm gluing this on here, I don't see any reason why I won't be able to scrape this off if I want to change it up at a later date. So this little silicone brush, I'm just gonna call it a brush. I know it's not technically a brush, but is working really, really well for this. And this glue is just the right consistency that I'm able to kind of work with it a little bit. Okay, so now we hurry up and wait and let this dry and see what that's gonna turn out like. So we're just gonna let this dry and I'll be back. So it's all dry. This is still the back and it's pretty, it feels pretty solid on there. I don't think there's any issues with having it on the glass. So now I'm going to just sand off this edge. And I'm just gonna put this block here so I can sand this off. And just made sure that those edges are really nice and clean. And now we are going to paint white on the back. So you can use any kind of a white paint. Because of what this is going to be used for, I want to use less layers of paint and to get the same result. So with a chalk style paint, I would have to seal that. So I'm going to go with an acrylic based paint so that I don't have to add an additional coat to make sure that it is water resistant. So just grab your white paint of choice. And the reason why we're doing the white paint on the back is just to make sure that this image is really visible on the back side. On the front side, I mean. See now, like it's so translucent that you can't really see the sheep through there. I know I keep showing it to you upside down. That's just how it's working out. I'm just gonna put a little bit of water in my brush. I don't have my little cup of water out here. And now let's just add some paint here. You could spray paint this. That would probably be easier, but I'm just going to brush it on. I'm gonna have to add a little bit of water to get this to brush nicely. Just adding a little bit of water into this paint so it's not so thick. There we go, that feels better. I don't like having a lot of drag on my brush. I want to be able to apply this nice and smooth. I might have to do a second coat, just a really thin, watered down coat, just for that extra. Ooh, this is crackling. So I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm going to zoom you in just for a bit. Look at that crackle. That's happening really, really fast. Okay, I'm just going to continue on here. I'm just going to go with this crackle. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it now anyways. And hope that it looks good when all is said and done. Okay, so this is definitely going to need another coat. I just want to see what this looks like on the other side. This is drying really, really fast. Okay, let's flip this over the other way. Look at the difference that made though with that white. And you can just see how you can see that crackle? Because I think you can in the lens. I think that actually just might add some, oh yeah, you can see it on the bridge of this sheep's nose, even that crackle. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm trying to avoid, because if you watched the video where I did that cloche that I was talking about earlier with the glue as the decoupage medium, and then when it crackled like this, I got the idea to then paint a dark color on top of this to be able to accent or to really highlight this crackle on the front side. And now I'm debating if I should do that on here too, because I really like how this crackle is. I'm kind of, my paint was thinner on this side, so I'm gonna just go with this embossing heat tool to try to bring on a little bit more crackle. Sometimes adding heat just helps you get even more crackle. Because I think if I added paint now, it's not gonna work, so. All right. So I'm gonna let this dry completely before I go over it with, I think I'm gonna use like a really dark brown, like an almost black brown, to then just put the final coat on this, just to be able to accent this crackle. Okay, so this is dry, and there's quite a bit of crackle on this side. There's less on this side, but it just kind of adds to the whole vibe. I think I'm just gonna go with a black on the back. It doesn't really matter, it's the back. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with the black. Gut saying go with the black, or like an almost charcoal. So that's what I'm going to do. And again, with an acrylic paint, I didn't want to put this many coats on here because I just figured less would be better, but it's wanting what it wants, so that's what we're gonna do. I am going to water this down a little bit. Give that a stir. And brush it on. I'm not super concerned about getting paint on the edges because you can just wipe that back, or even just lightly go with your sanding block again to totally clean up those edges. Because with an acrylic paint, sometimes it's kind of a struggle to get it off. You don't have a very big window to be able to wipe it off like you do with a chalk style paint. But I can always just go with a sanding block like we did to trim the decoupage paper. You could spray this if you want it to be super smooth, like no brush strokes or anything like that. That would probably be the ideal way to do this final coat, but I'm not. I don't like spraying in my craft room unless I absolutely have to, because it's stinky and I don't like the stinky. Okay. And because I'm impatient, I'm gonna go with my heat tool. I'm not using my big, the heavy duty one, this one, because it gets really hot. I'm sure it's fairly tough considering it's meant to be used as a cutting board, but I don't want to risk it. Okay, it's almost dry, but I'm just gonna let the rest dry on its own. I want to see. Ooh, look at that. I think that turned out super cute. See all that crackle in there? It just adds some, and on the bridge of this sheep's nose, there's some crackle. It's hard to tell with the glare. Working on glass on video is a little bit more of a challenge. But I think that looks really cute. And yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a gloss, and then I'm gonna put little, those little, I don't know if they're silicone or what, but little feet to keep it so that when you're using it, it's up. It used to have a little rubber foot or whatever in each corner, and that just keeps it up off your counter or whatever when you're using it. Because it might, if you get any dampness underneath from just wiping it, you might end up with it sticking. So we don't want that. And I would definitely say this is not a cutting board that you would soak in water. It probably never was, even with the factory image that it did have on it before. I don't think it's dishwasher or soak in water safe. This is something you just wipe clean. But it's a pretty good, it's a pretty darn good way to recycle this, and you can put any image on it. And I don't see, if I could get that original factory finish all the way off the way that I did, I think that this is something that you could switch up. You could keep it like this for a few years, and then if your styles change or your decor changes, or you find one at a thrift store and you want to create a gift for someone, I think this is pretty good way of really customizing something. So if you like glass cutting boards, I personally am not a fan, but this one's for my daughter. She is the sheep lady, so she's in the middle of lambing right now and has 100 ewes, well, over 100 ewes, popping out little babies like crazy. She's getting 7, 8, 9 a day, easy. So lots of triplets this year. So anyways, that's a side note, but this is for her. So I hope she likes it. I will take pictures of when it's completely done, but this is kind of the gist of it. I think it turned out really, really well. I really like that crackle. That kind of, I was surprised at the crackle, because I always thought to get crackle from glue, you had to time it perfectly where it's not completely dry. And this dried overnight, so it was very, very dry. All these experiments, you learn all kinds of new things. Okay, I'm gonna let this sit here and dry completely, and then we'll seal it up, put the little feet on it, and it'll be ready to go. Okay, so here we are, done. I did spray a satin finish clear coat on the back. So it's like, you can still see a little bit of the ripples. You can see, like, it's not perfect on the back. I think if I would have used spray on all of it, it would be a lot smoother, but whatever, it's the back. I'm not super concerned. I'm actually going to try to experiment on some smaller pieces just to see how the different finishes turn out. I don't know if using the spray, like for example with the white, I'm not sure if the glue would still crackle if you used a spray. I don't think so, but it might be a pleasant surprise. Because if that's the case, if it still crackles, I think if that's what you're going for, that that would be perfect to have that work with the spray as well. But I've never tried it with a spray. I don't tend to spray a lot of stuff, so. But anyways, I thought I had some of those little rubber or silicone feet, I'm gonna call them, but I don't. I just have the cork ones, but that'll work. So it just gives you that little wee bit of airspace underneath, and stability, so that it doesn't, because it's glass, so you don't want it to just slide around when you're trying to use it. But so I hope she likes it, and I really like how it turned out. I'm excited to see how it holds up. So we'll get her using it and wiping it down. But I think if you're just wiping it, as long as you're not soaking it in water, I don't see why this wouldn't last for years. So we'll give it a go. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you that take the time to join me on these videos. And I hope that it inspires you to get out there and create and to see some new life in something either that you find at a thrift store or something that you've had hanging around the house for a long time and you're just looking for a new life for that object. I like helping you guys through projects, so if you have any questions, just put them in the comments and I will get to your questions for sure. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.